Hello crafty friends, I'm Lien from Studio Kato and I'm so happy to be back on the Syberia Designs YouTube channel today for the October release video hub. Today we are celebrating the You Are Loved release with tons of inspiration on this hub. You can check out the description for all the information, but the most important part is that there are 5 15-pound gift cards up for grabs. So leave comments all the way along the hub for a chance to win one of those. I'll be doing some pattern stamping today with the Watercolor Flowers stamp set. It is a large 6x8 layering stamp set and it layers up really easily, but I want to show you how beautiful it can be if you purposefully don't layer them up perfectly. So I'm going to use my new Waffle flower grip mat. I'm testing it out here because this would be a lot faster to do just with some acrylic blocks. But I wanted to test out the grip mat, so I'm using my Misti to stamp this pattern. I'm starting out with the solid stamps in the set, and I'm going to start in the middle of my card or near the center of my card to start building my pattern. When you're building a pattern like this, it is important to start with the larger stamps, and it is important to start from the center of your card outwards. It is a lot easier to fill up your edges later on than it is to try and find a stamp that fits in a spot that you left empty in the center, you know? So always start building your patterns from the center out, and it's going to give you a lot easier time doing this. I am using Concord and 9th inks today to stamp all of my images because I love how pigmented they are and I love the color selection. They have a bunch of beautiful earth tones, and that's what I'm using today for a little fall pattern. All of these images in the set come with a solid layer, which I'm stamping now, and they come with an outline layer. And I'm going to play around with that a little bit later. And all of the flowers as well do come with separate flower centers, so you can stamp those in a different color, which again, I will be doing later. When you're building a pattern like this, it's very easy for it to become very busy very early on. To avoid that, try to just minimalize your colors. So I am only using 3 colors for my flowers, and then I'm using 1 green for the leaves. The colors also, they're mostly complementary colors, so they are pretty harmonious colors, and you won't have much difficulty making this a not too busy pattern. That was a very weird sentence, I apologize. I am just going to fill up the smallest spaces with the smallest flower from the set. That is why you leave those small stamps for last. And then I can stamp the flower centers as well. I am going to double stamp these to make sure that the color is a little bit darker than the ink actually is. For the outline layer, I have lined up all of the flowers, but I have offset them quite a bit. These are really easy to line up. I'm honestly surprised how easy they are to layer up, but I didn't want them to be layered up perfectly. I want a gold outline here, and I want it to be offset a little bit to give more interest to the background and to really play into that abstract, playful look of these flowers. So I stamped all the outlines in Versamark ink, a clear embossing ink, and then I am going to sprinkle on Wow Gold Rich Pale embossing powder to make this really shiny. I am also going to heat set this with a Wow Jewel Speed heat tool, and that is going to melt that powder and actually make it shiny and stay on the page. Now, once that's melted, I really didn't want to do too much to this background. I loved it so much. It's really my favorite colors, and I didn't want to cover too much of it up with a sentiment. So I am going to use a giant sentiment. This is the new Your Feelings Are Valid die set from Syberia Designs, and I am going to cut this out of the background, and I'm going to do one of those eclipse die cut techniques. It'll all make sense when you see it come together, but this is one of those techniques that lets you keep your entire background into focus if you've worked a long time on it. Although this background, even with my Misti, which is the most cumbersome way to do pattern stamping, I much prefer using an acrylic block for this actually. Even with my Misti, it took me about 20 minutes to stamp this entire pattern. So, and that's the most time consuming part of this card. Now I'm doing some die cut inlay, and I do this off my card. I have already die cut this sentiment a couple more times out of white cardstock, and one of those white cardstock die cuts I inlaid on my background, or in my background, just using some purple tape on the back. Now you don't have to do this step, I just think it makes it a lot easier, because with a sentiment as intricate as this, you have a lot of little flyaway pieces, and they can be a little bit hard to manage when you're just gluing your background with a hole in the center of it on your card, because there are some pieces that can glue down crookedly because there's no sentiment in place to support it. If you just tape it all together off your card base with some purple tape on the back, it's all going to fit perfectly together, and you can just stack your layers on top of it that way. That is going to be a lot easier, or I find it easier anyway. Now I did create some sort of shadow layer here. I die cut this once more out of a gold mirror cardstock, and I've offset that a little bit on that first inlaid sentiment. I'm going to stack more sentiments on top of that, but I'm going to line those up perfectly with the inlaid sentiment. So you're just going to see a hint of gold around the edges, and that's going to create a beautiful shadow, and it is going to set your sentiment apart a little bit better, because this is quite a little busy background. So I did think it needed a little bit more to set that sentiment apart. So this final sentiment is 3 layers of white cardstock, and then that sentiment we cut out of the background at first. So this is going to layer right on top of that inlaid sentiment. The gold is peeking out around the edges, and I am going to layer up the tittles of the eye now, because there are 2 eyes in this sentiment. They're a little bit harder to see now, but I'm just layering up those 3 layers of white cardstock, and then the layers that were cut out of the background, because there was actually a little bit of color on those eyes, and or on those tittles, so I didn't want to lose that. Once all the sentiments are in place, this card is finished. I'm not going to add any embellishments to it. I think it's gorgeous just the way it is, with those beautiful subtle earth tones and that really subtle sentiment layered on top of it. It is a lot more noticeable in real life than it is on the video, but I love that eclipse technique. When you've spent a long time on a background, it's so stunning every time. It feels a little bit like a optical illusion sometimes, and I just love it. I hope you like it too. I hope you check out the new release. All of the information is in the description below. And I also hope you hop along for a chance to win one of those 15-pound gift cards to the Syberia Designs shop. You can find the link to the next and the previous videos in the description below, so you can choose which direction to watch this hop in and get all the inspiration from all the participants in this beautiful video hop. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!